This week on Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Was given like we know each other in another way.
Like, she came to the house a couple times. Trish.
Yo, what is up, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the new episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. That's season 8, episode 10. Let's get right into it. Alright, you guys, before we get into the actual episode, I just want to take a few moments to say rest in peace to Keke Jabbar, whose death was announced earlier this week, and I was just taken aback by this. It's so sad. We talked about Keke for a while. She was part of the show, a main cast member for, I think, last season, and very important to the show. So it was really, really heartbreaking to hear this news. Such a young person. She was only 40, 42, I think. 3 kids that now have no mother, a husband, her parents are still alive. So it was just tragic. So I just want to take a few moments to say that, yeah, rest in peace to Keke. But let's get started, you guys. So the first scene of the episode is Nell going over to her husband's real estate office because she wants to discuss a few things that have been heavy on her mind. Chris says that he was actually just looking at some houses for Sonny and Moses because Moses talked to him and said that they wanted to move to Huntsville. Now, obviously, Miss Nell is feeling a little weird about it because how will Destiny react to this? But Chris pretty much says, look, this is business, it's not personal. Miss Nell wants to talk about something else, though. It's the kids. These are adult children, but they're always asking for all sorts of money from them. And Miss Nell says that it's coming to a point where it's becoming too much. It's becoming excessive. And she says that all of this stuff has been taking a toll on her mental health, and she feels like she's drowning. She thinks that it's time to establish some boundaries because, that's taking money away from them as a couple and their future investments. Chris suggests to get everyone together and talk about it so they can come to some sort of solution. So then after that, Chris gets on going to show a property to Sonny and Moses. Now, I didn't know Chris was that close with Destiny, but he says that he even looks at her as like a little sister. But again, business is business, so he's got to make his money. So the place that Chris goes to is that house that Martell just moved into that we've seen like 1,000 times. Martell also asked Chris if he let Destiny know, but again, Chris doesn't feel like he has to. So Sonny and Moses get there and they begin to look at the house. It's very nice. It's definitely like small, but it's decent. So Sonny says, we want to start a family. They say that Huntsville is a good place for the kids to be raised. Sonny says they have begun IVF, and Martell says that he's looking for about 340 on the house. Eventually, they talk about Stormi's gala, and Martell brings up Destiny. Sonny says that there was no overlap, and it wasn't them being sneaky, love is love. And it looks like Martell is kind of believing that story, and he says that he's just neutral. Chris Fletcher then says something about being neutral, and that it's kind of the same with how he is neutral with Martell and Melody, but then Martell tries to argue with him that it's not the same, it's a big difference. But Sonny says that she hopes one day she can be neutral with Destiny. So then it is later, and then Martell goes over to Stormi's warehouse. Martell tells her that the gala was very nice, very well put and organized, and Stormi says that it sucked that Martell wasn't able to be a model. He says that he just wasn't in shape. And Stormi says, well, I did get you Trish to train you. So speaking of Trish, Stormi says that encounter that Martell and her had at the house, it was weird. And it was giving like we know each other in a different way. So then Martell starts with his dumb insinuations, trying to be funny, talking about Trish, oh, she went to the crib. I can't with him. So then they talk about Martell's arrest. And Stormi says that it's funny because she just got her own mugshot for the same thing as Martell, harassment in communications. She explains that a MELOMETER came to the warehouse and started recording, and, it all went down. And in his confessional, Martell says that Melody needs to get her people under control because she created them, she named them. Stormi says that She doesn't have beef with Melody, but she does feel like she's been gaslit by her. But Stormi says that she's winning, so she'll overcome this, and she says that Martell will as well. I've noticed that this season in particular, season 8, almost every cast member has mentioned the MELOMETERS, and I don't think they've really mentioned them that much previously, but that's one thing that I have noticed. Next up, we finally see a scene with Maurice and Kimmi. I feel like we've seen these people like 2 or 3 times, and it's been a whole season. I feel like we've seen Trish and Ken more than we've seen them, but they were invited to eat dinner at a restaurant by Sunny and Moses. Kimmi feels conflicted, but she accepted the invite. So once they get there, Sunny talks about them moving to Huntsville. They think it's a good place. Kimmi says, that's great, but don't you think that's adding some salt to the wound? And Moses says, no, there shouldn't be no wound because we're all adults. Maurice says that the safety is good in Huntsville. And they say that the IVF, they're advancing in that, so they want to have multiple children. Then they begin to talk a little bit about their backgrounds. Maurice talks about, the guys who he grew up with. They're basically all dead because they came from communities that were tough, bad, crime, poverty. And it's not just Maurice. Same for Moses, Kimmi. Moses starts talking about his life and about him going to jail when he was young, but he was able to start working, but then he went back to jail. So he was in jail for like 15 years. Wow, that's crazy. Maurice asks, what was the turning point? And Moses says, a lot of important people started dying. Hearing this side of Moses helped Maurice understand why Moses is trying to do things so fast. Get married, have kids, move. He now has investment properties and he has a trucking company. And you know what? I don't agree with like messy timelines, but I do wish them the best. Now, I don't want to see them on the show no more, but I do wish Sunny and Moses the best, like genuinely. Kimmi says that she does have an affinity for Sunny because Sunny was there for her when she was going through her health issues, and she even invited them to something. And Kimmi says that if they haven't signed no deal with Chris, she would be happy to show them some houses. Alright, so then it is the last scene of the episode, and it is Chris and Nell. They have a huge, beautiful home, and Nell is cooking some dinner. They invited the kids, and then Chris Jr. got a job, so they're happy about that. But Miss Nell gets straight to the point and says she don't want to give them all no more money. She doesn't want them to be reaching out for help unless it's a real emergency. Now, I think it must be a lot of money that they've been lending to the kids. Now, this was the sad part. Nell said something about the only people she's going to put before herself are her grandkids. In that case, her son Lance's kids. But Keke, who is their niece, who she was raised as their child because she has no parents, she starts to cry because she feels like her kid is being excluded. And Nell quickly realized that, and she says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. But I thought that was really sad because the girl has no mom and dad. Nell and Chris are her mom and dad. Not, biologically, but, they are. Last thing Chris suggests is for them to have family therapy. And they all agree except Nell. She says, I ain't doing all that. Oh my gosh. But we saw the previews and they all will be doing that. And that was the end of the episode, you guys. What a boring episode. It not only was it boring, it felt so long. I was like, oh my god, it's still not over. This season is really boring. It started off great. It had a great kick. It had a great kickstart. But now it's just like, for the past like 3 or 4 episodes, I've been so bored. It's going to have to start picking up because it's a lot. But anyway, guys, that was the episode. What did y'all think? It was really centered around Sunny, Moses, and the Fletchers. So what were y'all's opinions about the show? Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And once again, you guys, RIP to Keke Jabbar. Life is so short. Please be nice to everyone because you never know what people are going through. So you guys have a great day, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.